Hey everybody, it's Javad, and it's a Saturday. I'm here in my wood shop, technically a speaker building shop because that's pretty much all that happens in here. And I'm going to show you guys my latest new project that I'm working on, starting to work on. And basically the idea is, you guys have probably been following a lot of my projects. I've been posting pretty heavily about all my speaker building projects for like the last 2 years. And since the project pad has really taken off, it's been great to be able to share and go into even deeper detail with you guys about the projects I'm working on. And I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I usually tackle projects that are a little bit more challenging, say drivers that aren't easy to work with, horns, AMTs, maybe, classically not the easiest types of drivers to work with. Drivers that don't always pair together really easily, things like that, and then often doing them with passive crossover, which makes it even more challenging. So a few months ago, I started thinking, I don't want to do a project with good, really high-end drivers that all work well together on paper and in the research that I've done. And drivers with nice smooth roll-off, really naturally flat response, and really do kind of a high-end project that would alleviate some of the challenges and create the best, most no holds barred result. So I've had the chance to hear Jeff Bagby's Testarossas a few times, and I got to hear them last December, and that Raal tweeter just blew me away. And I've heard the Raal 7010 a few times, and it sounded good, but the 7020, it didn't just sound good. The way it presents the sound is like holographic. It doesn't necessarily sound like it's coming from the tweeter. It might not be as accurate. I don't know if it's technically as good as, say, a ScanSpeak 9900, which is, one of the best, flattest dome tweeters. But it's a really special, noteworthy sound. And as soon as I heard them, I knew I had to work with them. So I started with the Raal tweeter, and I started working backwards. And I knew I wanted to do a three-way. And since the Raal 7020 can, work down to about 1,000 hertz, that opened up some options to work with a really nice 6 or 7 inch mid bass. And so I started looking around, and I came across the CSS LDW7, and that naturally led me to the CSS SDX10 subwoofer. And so that's what this project is. It's a three-way with the Raal 7020 on top, the CSS LDW7 mid-bass, mid-range, and then the SDX10 subwoofer on the bottom. And there'll be one 10-inch subwoofer cabinet, and I've decided to use 2 of CSS's APR10 passive radiators per cabinet. So we've been talking a lot about passive radiators lately on the group, and I figured why not show that technology and that option off for you guys. So the name of the project, after careful consideration, Enthraal. Get it? They'll be great at playing Diana Krall, if you know what I mean. Enthraal, the name implies that the sound will be enthralling, and the name Raal's in the name. So come on, what more could you ask for? So, I hope Facebook doesn't take this video down for being too sexy or too much porn, but I've got some stuff I want to show off to you guys. And this video is going to be a little longer, but I think there's plenty to keep your attention. And we're gonna unbox some of these sexy components. Now, I'll just be straightforward. I've fondled some of this stuff already, but through the magic of television, I've been able to repackage it and make it look like I'm opening it for the first time here with you guys. But I'm really excited to show you guys these parts. It's a pleasure and an honor for me to be able to work with high-end, high-quality components like this. And I'll just kind of open them up and show you guys what's going on. And I've got this super fancy suction cup here, so let's, I don't like editing, right? So I don't got time for that. It's all about the one-shot wonder. So, all right. Cheers. So let's start down here with the CSS APR10 passive radiator. Make some room here. So as you know, a passive radiator is an enclosure tuning device. It acts similarly as a port, but it's not a port. It's a cone that resonates at a certain frequency, which augments the output of the main woofer or subwoofer. So here we go. This is a 10-inch passive radiator. After some modeling, I've chosen, actually, Jeff also did a little modeling with me, and we both agreed that two 10-inch would have more than enough capacity for the one 10-inch subwoofer. So this is the CSS passive radiator. It has a stamped steel basket because it doesn't need anything fancier than that. And it has this really cool feature here. This is a cap that covers, and then washers slide on this stud here. And so we can add weight really easily using these washers. I forget how much each of these weighs, but should have no trouble adding enough weight to drop the tuning frequency down into the teens if I need to. And I think this passive radiator right out of the box is in like the low 20 hertz range, which is nice and low already. And then we can add, drop some stuff, but we can add all these washers here. And change the tuning frequency. So once I have the enclosure built and I have the woofers in the enclosure, then using some measurements, and I can add weight and see where I want the response and where I want things to end up. I'm also thinking about doing something kind of fun and redoing this cap, possibly in the same wood that I'm building the baffle out of, or maybe even doing some cool little billet aluminum piece. This is all really nice right out of the box, and these are pretty reasonable. They're like 65 bucks each. That's the APR10 passive radiator, and again, 2 of these per cabinet. All right, let's move on to the next thing, which is the CSS SDX10 subwoofer. So these CSS subwoofers are monsters. I'm sure you've seen pictures of them online. So these use this XBL squared technology, which is a patented technology. It basically ensures that the woofer has a more even inductance curve, and woofers like this can have tremendous Xmax. So this has an 18 mil Xmax, 36 millimeters peak to peak. That's a lot. And you can see this motor assembly is very robust, very beefy. This is actually a 6-layer voice coil. This thing can take over 1,000 watts, and this will do really nicely in 2 cubic feet, and it should have response flat to 20 hertz or below. Really nice pressed paper cone, long throw surround, beautiful cast frame, really nice unit. So it's actually very efficient too, with the average sensitivity around 89 dB. So this paired up well with to the LDW7, and this means that I can keep the speaker pretty high efficiency, and that's tough to do when you put a subwoofer in a passively crossed over cabinet like I'm going to be doing. A lot of subwoofers are down in the low 80 dB range, and that means you're going to have to pretty much do an active type of amplifier, plate amp or something like that, so that you can give the lower sensitivity woofer, a lot more power than the rest of the components. So this should pair up really well, and I'm really excited to finally use one of these CSS subwoofers. All right, now I talked about the LDW7 mid bass, and that's what we have here. So this is a really, really nice mid bass. These are 150 bucks each new. Really nice motor assembly, copper hole cap. I don't know if you can see the copper in there. Let's see when I push that down, there's some vents there, and you can see that copper peeking through. Aluminum shorting rings, and really beautiful pressed paper fiberglass cone, butyl rubber surround. This woofer has a really flat response, so it should be really easy to work with. And I think I'll hand these off to the 10-inch around 150 hertz. So that's what my initial calculations show well. And yeah, it's pretty much a 7-inch frame woofer, and yeah, really cool unit. So I consider this a high-end driver, and I think this would hold up to, you know, any kind of ScanSpeak or SB acoustics in the similar price range. All right. Last but not least, the Raal tweeters. So these are the Raal 7020 XR. So the thing about this tweeter is this is a OEM tweeter that Raal only sells to speaker manufacturers. So I have been fortunate enough for someone in the industry to hook me up with these. You can't just go on Amazon or Parts Express or Matasound and just buy these. They're out there, they're available, they're not cheap. These were about $700 for the pair. But you know, I think they're worth it, and I'm really excited to work with this type of tweeter. There's a lot of mystique around Raal tweeters, and I think it's rightfully justified. Cool thing about these is they're flat to about 100,000 hertz, which is great if you're a bat or an audiophile. And they do have like this breakup dip thing at, you know, just above 20,000 hertz. But what I've seen of their measurements, they're incredibly flat and can be used down to about 1,000 hertz. So I'm really excited to use them. So let's just open these up here. Very well packaged. These I have actually not fondled too much. So let's cut it open and see. So the interesting thing is they come with this magnetic cover. You can see that? And the reason they have this is that if you're transporting these or they're not in use, just slight air pressure, even someone slamming a door, can actually supposedly damage or bend the thin aluminum diaphragm. And so that's what this is for, to seal and protect the diaphragm. Yeah, and you're supposed to slide it on and off, not let it snap on like I just did. So careful about that, but the magnet's pretty strong. Let's see here. Wow, look at this thing. Wow, very cool. So again, 70 millimeters tall, 20 millimeter wide diaphragm, and I don't know what more I can say about this. Really flat, high-end tweeter, flat response, and really like a holographic, dare I say, ethereal sound. So very enthralling on top of it. All right, guys. Well, thanks for listening. I'm going to be posting more. I'll do another piece on the wood I'm using for this project, and I'm going to start cutting wood over the next few weeks. So stay tuned on the project pad for the updates and posts there. And thanks for following along and listening. All right, thanks, guys.